big update that's coming out of, another one of those shocking moments, another one of those like very sad state of affairs where the arguments have to be made that are still on the side against protecting the unborn get more and more disturbing and more like, it feels like such living in a world of unrealistic beliefs here that you really, you just have to hear yourself. Okay, so this is coming from Planned Parenthood.
That's right. So as a little background for everyone, the ACLJ and many of our attorneys were deputized by the Attorney General of Missouri to assist in this case where Planned Parenthood was suing the state for some of the requirements within their and limitations and licensing issues that they had restricting the abortion industry. And that's what Planned Parenthood saw it as. And they were challenging some of these things like, just normal health and safety issues within a surgery room, things of that nature. They were challenging these what they saw as limitations on the access to abortion under a ballot initiative where the people of Missouri enshrined a right to abortion under the state. Right. So that's where this all comes from. Planned Parenthood gets the right to abortion in the state through the people of Missouri and then immediately starts going after common sense laws that govern and regulate the abortion industry. And our attorneys, and I spoke with one of our attorneys at length on Friday, getting kind of a download of everything that happened in this 2-week trial. It was a bench trial before a state judge. But some of the most egregious things, as Planned Parenthood always says, they speak for women. They had 0 witnesses that were women from the state of Missouri to speak about how these laws were, and these very normal things were harming them and their access to abortion. On the contrast, the state and our attorneys at the ACLJ assisting with that had many women who had been harmed by unregulated abortion practices in the state of Missouri. And they were actually speaking for women of Missouri. But some of the shocking things, because, we called this the trial of the century because we know now this was one of the first cases like this where Planned Parenthood got to trial challenging these regulations of their industry post-Dobbs. And their experts that they had testify, one was pushing back at some of the issues with the concept of fetal pain by arguing in court.
Just listen to this. Okay, again, fetal pain is something that we've discussed many times before. It's very proven. You could see it happen in the womb. But they're claiming, maybe the most ridiculous stance.
So their doctor that they had testify in court was maintaining the position that fetal pain does not exist because a baby in utero cannot be conscious of the pain and cannot express it, cannot communicate the pain. So therefore, they took this line of questioning down the line and said, well, then, would you say the same thing about maybe a 1-year-old or an infant that has been born? And they maintained the same position. The doctor was saying that a 1-year-old, that it could go up to 1 to 2 years old, cannot be conscious of the pain and cannot adequately communicate that pain. Therefore, the concept of infant pain is therefore not a real thing. This is what Planned Parenthood, claiming to speak on behalf of women of Missouri.
And let's say also medical science. That. Anyone who's had a child, a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old or a 3-day-old who's received a shot knows they feel pain, have had a kid fall, knows they feel pain. This is so, I can't even believe that I'm even making this excuse or having to make this argument, but this is the distortion of all of it. We always say that, but it's just true because when it comes down to these moments, it's taking what should be what everyone knows. Every parent, every person who has ever dealt with a baby before knows how this works, and they treat you like you're an idiot.
Well, and once again, this same doctor also was questioned about viability. And here's where their logic is that you can't know viability, basically ever. Yeah. In that if a baby dies post-birth, then it was not a viable pregnancy. Yeah. So taking an end, not ignoring all circumstances, but that if an infant even dies in childbirth, that wasn't a viable pregnancy ever. Yeah. It makes no sense. They're the logic arguments.
To what's even grosser, though, from these same doctors who testified, this is Dr. Stephen Ralston. Look him up, because this is a doctor who believes that toddlers do not feel pain. Now, anyone who has a toddler or has had a toddler,
right,
they feel pain, and they're actually very sensitive when they're learning to walk. Sometimes they laugh when they fall over. Sometimes they don't and cry. Why would they cry if they don't feel anything?
Well, again, it's like a dumb argument that we're having to even.
I mean, they have pain receptors at that point. If you pinch them, they feel it. If they're hurting, they tell you.
But Jordan, they may not be able to articulate why or what hurts.
So if they get pink eye or chapped lips, are they not? You don't think that that is their body showing them that they feel pain? It's a way for their body to tell you because they can't speak yet.
It's how the argument of viability falls apart when you're like, well, what is viability? Because viability would be like, okay, so if you just
what viability is to them. That they can feed themselves and
right,
themselves
like a 10-year-old,
I don't even know if it's that. Yeah. I think it's someone who can drive a car and fully take care of themselves.
Yeah. All right.
Anything other than that, they feel like can be disposed of.
But the ACLJ, we're hard to action. We're going at
That's who you're up against.
Yeah.
And this is now
That's how gross they
before the judge. There's post-trial briefing. This was a bench trial. Obviously, they challenged the statutes as different counts. So there's many different ways this could fall. But one, I think, pray for the wisdom of the judge in this, that the arguments of ACLJ attorneys and the Attorney General's Office of Missouri landed with that judge. Because, once again, when Planned Parenthood has the comfortableness behind a courtroom door, knowing that this isn't televised, this is a state court, they can get in there and use these witnesses. These are witnesses I'm sure they take all around the country anytime they're fighting something like this. They know that this isn't going to make headline news. They're comfortable putting witnesses on the stand, making these arguments that are honestly in contrast with what they argue is their position on their website. If you take the slogans of Planned Parenthood, caring for women and believing them, they didn't put a single citizen of Missouri that would be harmed by these laws. As a matter of fact, it was only the state who could show how the practices of Planned Parenthood are detrimental to the health and wellness of women of that state.
Yeah, it's just a gimmick. It's just a gimmick. Don't fall for their gimmick. We know you don't, but sadly, we know a lot of people do.